All right, today we're going to dive deep into what is arguably the most legendary mnemonic in all of math, SOH CAH TOA. We're going to take it from just some random phrase you have to memorize and turn it into a super powerful tool that you can actually use with confidence. So let's get right into it.
So you've got your three basic trig ratios, right? Sine, cosine, and tangent. And you know each one is a fraction, a specific ratio of sides in a right triangle. But which one is which? It's so easy to get them mixed up. It's probably one of the most common places people get tripped up.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why this thing is basically a mathematician's master key. Then, we're going to decode the acronym itself. After that, we'll take it for a little test drive with some examples, check out the common mistakes to avoid, and finally, see how this simple idea stretches way beyond the classroom.
Okay, first up, let's change how we think about this. SOH CAH TOA isn't just some silly memory trick for your next quiz. No, it's a fundamental tool for really, truly mastering trigonometry. You know, there's a reason it gets called the master key. Because once you have it, you can pretty much unlock any problem that involves a right triangle. It's like a guarantee that you've got the right formula in your hands, every single time. So let's get to it. What does this thing actually stand for? It's actually brilliant in its simplicity. It's broken down into three little chunks, and each chunk gives you a complete formula. The first piece of the puzzle is SOH. The S, well, that's for sine. The O tells you what goes on top of the fraction, the side that's opposite your angle. And the H tells you what's on the bottom, the hypotenuse. So sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Easy as that.
Next up, we've got CAH. It's the exact same pattern. C is for cosine. The A stands for the adjacent side. That's the leg of the triangle that's right next to or touching your angle. And H is, you guessed it, the hypotenuse again. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse.
And to finish it off, we have TOA. T is for tangent, O is for opposite, and A is for adjacent. Now notice something here? The hypotenuse is nowhere to be found. Tangent is just the simple ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side. And boom, there you have it. All three trig functions, perfectly laid out for you.
All right, we've decoded it. Now for the fun part. Let's actually take this tool out for a spin and see how it works in a few different situations, starting with the basics and working our way up.
Let's start with a classic 5, 12, 13 right triangle. Now, if you focus on angle X, the very first thing you always do is label your sides from that perspective. The side opposite X is 5, the side adjacent to X is 12, and the hypotenuse, well, that's always the longest side, 13. Now we just plug and play. SOH tells us sine of X is opposite over hypotenuse, so 5 over 13. CAH tells us cosine of X is adjacent over hypotenuse, 12 over 13. And TOA gives us tangent of X, opposite over adjacent, 5 over 12. Perfect.
Okay, but what happens if we switch things up and look from the perspective of the other angle, angle Y? The hypotenuse, that stays the same. But look, the opposite and adjacent sides completely flip. From where Y is sitting, the opposite side is now 12 and the adjacent side is 5. So what does that little perspective shift do to our answers? Well, this is where a really cool pattern shows up. The sine of Y, which is opposite over hypotenuse, or 12, 13, is the exact same as the cosine of X, and the cosine of Y, 5, 13, is the same as the sine of X. They're called cofunctions for a reason. And the tangent of Y? That's just the flipped version, the reciprocal, of the tangent of X. Pretty neat, right? Okay, let's try a word problem. Imagine you're standing 100 feet from a pole, and you're looking up at a 34-degree angle to the top. How tall is the pole? First step, draw it out. The 100 feet on the ground is your adjacent side. The height of the pole, which we're trying to find, is the opposite side. Now you just scan your master key, SOH CAH TOA. Which part uses opposite and adjacent? TOA. It's a perfect match. So you know you have to use tangent. The equation is simply tangent of 34 degrees equals x divided by 100.
So this tool is incredibly reliable, but only if you use it correctly. Which brings us to the most common pitfalls, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. I'm telling you, the #1 mistake students make is just misspelling the mnemonic. It seems like such a small thing, but if you accidentally write TAO instead of TOA, you'll set up your tangent formula as adjacent over opposite. That one little letter swap flips your entire answer upside down. It's going to be completely wrong.
So how do you lock in the correct spelling and never forget it? Easy. You use an acronym for the acronym. This one's a classic. Some old horses can always hear their own approach. The first letter of each word perfectly spells out
SOH CAH TOA. Just say that to yourself a few times, and I promise you'll never get it wrong on a test again.
All right, for our last part, let's zoom out a bit. Let's see how this simple memory tool connects to a much bigger idea. Because SOH CAH TOA isn't just for math class. It's a way of thinking that professionals use in really high-stakes situations every single day.
Believe it or not, there's a formal name for a tool like this. It's called a cognitive forcing function. Sounds complicated, I know, but all it means is a procedure or a tool that's designed to stop you from making simple human errors, especially when you're stressed out.
Just think about it. Pilots use checklists like IMS-AIF before every single flight to make sure nothing gets missed. Trauma surgeons follow the ABCDE assessment to save lives when the pressure is on. You know, relying on a simple, proven system isn't a crutch. It's what professionals do. And when you're in a test, that's your high-pressure environment. SOH CAH TOA is your professional checklist.
So the big takeaway here is this. SOH CAH TOA is way more than just a math trick. It's a mental checklist. It's a system you can depend on to get it right when it really matters, when the pressure is on and you can't afford a simple mistake.
And that brings me to one final thought. This whole idea, using a simple tool to prevent a complex error, that's universal. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What other parts of your life could use a simple mental checklist to help you perform better when you're under pressure?